Hello my friends, finally we have awesome news. Deutschland checked Leopard Panzer in the Ukraine, which means that Germany sends Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Plus, we'll have the Leopard 2A6 modification, which has the better barrel and more advanced electronics. According to the yesterday's news, Germany said that it may send 29 Leopard 2A5 tanks, and now we speak about A6 modification. And also we have the articles around the media saying that United States is close to approving significant number of Abrams tanks to Ukraine. I'm very surprised about this decision. The source is coming from the Biden's administration, from the White House, but Pentagon says it's early to say about it. I think maybe United States may send some of the Abrams tanks to Ukraine. That was the condition from the Germany side before. Also, we have different information about the number of those tanks, from 10 tanks till 50 tanks. But again, Abrams tanks require different logistics compared to diesel tanks. They need jet fuel for their turbine engines, and also the maintenance of turbines is quite sophisticated. Well, the good thing that we don't have the desert in Ukraine, and there are no tiny particles that may go into the turbine and wear it out, but still the maintenance should be done, and to do it you need to remove all of the engine, disassemble this turbine, change it for the new one, or repair and put it all back together. So you need to disassemble half of the machine to do it. What is good about the Abrams tanks, that they're proved by war. They were in Iraq, they were in Afghanistan, they were everywhere, and this is really a great machine and one of the symbols of American power. As by the way, Bradleys, they destroyed more tanks in Iraq compared to Abrams. Also important news comes from Switzerland. It's known as a neutral country, but actually in Switzerland there are lots of the ammunition and shells are made for many of the guns, tanks and those anti-aircraft vehicles. So let's translate this article into English just for you to understand. So turnaround in arms export, Switzerland is said to offer a hand for the delivery of ammunition and tanks to Ukraine. That's actually superb. For the first time in Switzerland's history, they support ammunition to some of the side of the conflict, like Ukraine. My friends, if this is true, it would be a game changer in this war, not just from the ammunition perspective, but from the political side as well. Alright guys, what is interesting about the Leopard 2A6 tanks that Germany will give to Ukraine, that they are now in Deutschland Bundeswehr, the German army. So they are not on a long-term storage, they're not on a training or something, they are in service for Deutschland. And yesterday it was the funny statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry. They say that if Germany decides to send those tanks to Ukrainian army, they would not need to repaint or paint over those crosses that they have. Yes, I think we have different crosses for Ukrainian army, but those are also okay for us. Oh my friends, those news are so superb. So you see how situation may dramatically change in a matter of days. And just 1 month ago, there were no any talks about the tanks for Ukraine. Now we have the common decision from many of the Western allies, Norway, Poland, Germany and many others. UK obviously, and probably United States will provide the tanks to Ukrainian army. For sure we'll have more than 100 units, and tanks are usually offensive weapons that are needed for the counterattack. And that is why during the springtime I expect the massive Ukrainian counterattack in the south to reach Crimea. Why Crimea is important? Because if we go there, we're gonna kick the Russian regime just into the heart, and there will be internal collapse of the Russian Federation as we know it. And I don't think that Putin will stay in power in case Ukraine would liberate Crimea, and I believe that it's going to happen. There is no other way. And yes, ABC News says that Ukraine will get around 100 Leopards, and 12 of the countries agreed to give those types of the tanks to Ukrainian army. Plus UK with the Challenger 2 and maybe United States, so around 150 tanks potentially. And those tanks are much better compared to the standard Russian T-72 tanks. About the final decision from United States, we should wait till the end of this this week. At least we got this information from the Wall Street Journal, and they say that we may get around 30 up to 50 tanks from the United States. And as I said to you before, there are lots of the Abrams that are not in use by United States Armed Forces any longer, so they were written off. But applying some light maintenance on those tanks, you can make them run again, and those tanks will be sent to Ukraine. I'm sure about it right now. Wow, that's probably the record for the Russian attack helicopter K-52. 3 of them were shot down today in Zaporizhia direction. And since the beginning of the war, Russia lost 40% of those helicopters.